YouTube Buzzico and the Goat House is back with our updated Week 10 NFL Power Rankings update. These every single Tuesday afternoon. We go from 32 to 1. And this is weekly power rankings, not based on the end of the year, not predictions. You win, you go up. You lose, you go down. You go on a streak, that'll sure help you. If you look good on the field, that'll help you in these rankings as well. So it was a weird week. So there's some interesting changes here on the power rankings. So excited to go over them. We got weekly picks every Tuesday night, score predictions every Wednesday. We're halfway through the season, so we begin to rank some players and update our playoff predictions in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Make sure you follow that Twitter. A lot going on that Twitter. A lot of updates talking about Odell Beckham Jr. Waiver claim period ends today. He'll probably be a free agent after that. We'll see what happens. We'll have you covered as it happens. We have a recent Odell video as well. I'll put a link to any of those recent videos in the comments there. But again, check out that Twitter. Week 10 power rankings. The Lions remain 32, the only team without a win, so it shouldn't really be a surprise. The Texans had a shot to pull off a win. They play the Miami Dolphins. They get Tyrod Taylor back. They get to play Jacoby Brissett. Very sloppy game. They can't pull it off, obviously, so they remain at 31. So next up, watch football team. You know, they're on a losing streak right now. They didn't play last week, obviously. Some other teams that were down here won, so those teams are going to move up. So Washington finds themselves at 30, which, going into the year, I wouldn't have predicted them to ever show themselves down here. You know, a lot of us thought they could possibly win the division, so it's been pretty disappointing. I know they had an injury at quarterback, but let's see if they can get themselves out of this position that they're in, being at number 30. Miami's going to move up one spot. It's good to get a win there. They do beat the Texans, but any type of win is good. That, really good. I'm impressed with the defense from the Dolphins in that game, but at times it really felt like, most time it felt like whoever was going to play worse in that game was going to lose. So it's kind of one of those games, but it's good for the Dolphins to get a win there. Jets moved down 2 spots. They scored a lot of points against the Colts on Thursday night, but that defense, man, that defense looks like the very worst in football all of a sudden since the Patriots game. Give up 54 there. Give up a lot of points to the Colts this past week. So it's almost like they flipped. Offense is looking better, even with injuries, and then the defense is looking a lot worse. So it was a tough one. They're going to move down 2 spots. Again, some of these other teams, team like the Jaguars beating the Bills, is going to boost them up a bit here. So they're going to go up 2 spots. Obviously still not thrilled with the Jags this year, but beating the Bills, having that defensive performance, even though the lack of offense, it's still impressive in a way. And they were just coming off a bad one against Seattle too. Losing that bad to them, with Geno Smith, but then beating the Bills. Really great. It's a great game plan on defense. Players played very well on the defensive side of things there. So impressive win for the Jags. Bears down 1 spot. Almost pulled off a good comeback against the Steelers. They were a little more impressive on offense as the game went on, but it's another loss on their streak, so they are down 1 spot to 26. Maybe some promise, for that offense a little bit in Justin Fields. 49ers moved down a whopping 7 spots. They get dominated by the Cardinals and Colt McCoy. No DeAndre Hopkins, obviously missing other players, but that's a bad one, to get beat the way that you did, and it kind of all comes together here. We're coming to week 10. You look at their resume, which plays a big part. They don't have a statement win. They're still looking for that statement win. They can't stay consistent. They got very bad losses. The Colts loss, a very bad one, and that Cardinals one is a very bad one as well. Finally get on the right side of things last week, beating the Bears. That doesn't really hold a lot of value there for them either. So down 7 spots. 49ers been extremely disappointing. So another team kind of like Washington, if you had to predict by week 10, would there be a shot they'd be down here? You would think no way. It's not playing good ball right now. Panthers down 2 spots. Defense put up a fight. Score won't show up. Their defense played fine, though. Sam Darnold and that offense just can't get things going there, so it's a bad loss for them. Just really, again, couldn't get anything going, so they're down 2 spots. Giants will go up 4 spots. Good win for them against the Raiders. We need to see the Giants stay consistent. Very winnable game against the Chiefs. They couldn't pull it off. Then they go and beat the Raiders. They look pretty good. Let's see if they can stay consistent now, and then they can continue to rise. But that's a pretty good win still. I really like the way the defense is playing. We've been saying that, and they're up 4 spots to number 23, so very impressive win. 22, the Eagles down 1 spot. It does feel like the Eagles are kind of getting better, on the field a little bit, but, again, another team that's got to stay consistent. They got to win. They got to get some statement wins in there, bigger wins. But they put up a fight with the Chargers, really entertaining game, back and forth. Very good on the ground. I thought Hurts played well. I thought Devontae Smith played extremely well. Defense could be a little better, but it's not the worst loss, but it is a loss, and we need to see them get a statement win and stay consistent. They'll play the Broncos this week. That's a winnable game. The two teams that it does feel like they're getting better, even whether they win or lose here. So the Eagles are only down one spot. Vikings down 2 spots. Vikings put up a fight with everybody, but they're consistently blowing these games. They're consistently losing. There's people that say the Vikings are better in their record, and I'm starting to say, no, that's just what they do. They do the same thing every week, so they are what they are. That's kind of how I view them right now. It's a team that feels like they can put up a fight with anybody, but they got to figure out a way to pull all these games off. They seem to be outplaying their opponent for majority of the game a lot, but they just can't pull it off. So they're down 2 spots after that blown lead to the Ravens and lost in overtime. 20 Seahawks to stay put there. They had a bye week, obviously, and now they're going to get Russell Wilson back for the Packers. So just in time for that big game. Bye week kind of came at the right time. No movement there for them. Falcons up 5 spots. That's a good win against the Saints. Not a lot of people, even with a guy like Trevor Siemian playing, not a lot of people expect the Falcons to win just because the defense the Saints present. It's kind of a bad matchup. It's a bad matchup against the Panthers defense, and that was the reason they lost, even though you could make the argument the Falcons are better than the Panthers. It's just a bad matchup. They couldn't win head-to-head, but they go beat the Saints, and they tried to blow it like the Falcons usually do, and that was tough, but majority of that game, they just kind of outplayed the Saints, so away too. So that was pretty impressive. So they're up 5 spots to number 19 after that impressive win. Broncos up 5 spots. They dominate the Cowboys, and now they're getting back, going on a little bit of a winning streak. A win like that, you almost want to put the Broncos up even more because they dominated the Cowboys, one of the best teams in football. It's tough to put them at it. You'll see what the teams I have in the top 17, about their body of work recently and over the whole season. So it's tough to put them up even higher, but they do go up 5 spots, and they were kind of starting to feel less about them. That's a big-time win. Both sides of the ball played well. Defense played extremely well. Eagles game this week, I think that's a fun matchup. I like that matchup. I think that game, that's probably the toughest game to pick this upcoming week, in my opinion. And we'll have our picks later tonight, but I'm looking forward to that game, actually. So we'll see if the Broncos can keep rolling. They're up to number 18, trying to get back on track there. Colts 17. I was impressed with the Colts. I know they beat the Jets, but I was impressed. I was impressed with Carson Wentz. He was throwing some good balls. I thought that was one of his better games, and it was just a really good team win there for the Colts. So it's tough not moving them up, but you see the teams in the top 16, you'll see that those teams kind of have a better resume so far, what they've done, but the Colts are coming. It's a team that it's an assumption, so that's why I can't factor in the power rankings, kind of a prediction. I think they're coming. I think they're going to be a team to watch out for. I think they're going to end up better, just a prediction, end up better than a lot of these teams that are ranked ahead of them. But they got to put it in play here, and they're starting that. So they are. Let's see if they can get consistent. They're still at 17 here. Bengals going to go down 6 spots. The resume for the season still looks pretty good as a whole, but you look at the last 2 games, they lose to the Jets, and they get dominated by the Browns at home, division game. You like to win those home games. So 2-game losing streak and a pretty ugly 2-game losing streak, kind of coming back down to earth. Those Bengals that we're used to. So maybe they were overhyped a little bit. Let's see if they can get back on track. They do have a bye week. That could be good for them, but that's tough. So they're going to move down 6 spots for that. Raiders will move down 4 spots. Kind of a back-and-forth team. They get a little hot and they get a little cold. Losing the Giants isn't good. They needed to run the ball more. They could have won that game if they ran the ball more, or they could have won the game if Derek Carr took better care of the ball. They definitely had a shot at the end, at least to tie it. But yeah, they struggle with the really good defenses there, like the Giants present, with their pass rush. So the Raiders, it's a tough loss. They'll play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, and there's the Chiefs. They're gonna move up 1 spot. Maybe they're getting going now. They beat the Giants. They beat the Packers. It's expected win playing Jordan Love. Defense stepped up, but that's what you expect them to do. The offense, I expected a lot more from them, so they're a little underwhelming, but they're getting on the right side of things here, winning. It's a big game for them against the Raiders. Big game for both teams. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs, Raiders. I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, they're right next to each other, 14 versus 15 this week. Browns will go up 3 spots. That's a big-time win against the Bengals. They were starting to get a little cold. That Steelers loss was a pretty bad one. One I expected them to win. They couldn't pull it off. But they play Cincinnati, and they just dominate them, from the start there. So that was very impressive. They used, in the passing game, the running game, defensively, seeing what their defense looks like healthy again. We saw it earlier in the year when they were just dominating teams. So that's good to see. It's pretty promising for the Browns there. So they're up 3 spots at 13. They got a big game against Patriots this week. That's a huge game. Another tough one to pick there. Can't wait for that. Saints will be down 4 spots. They were just into that top tier of teams in the top 8. But they lose to the Falcons, a game that you really expect them to win. They present that defense for the Falcons, and they're home, and they can't get it done. The defense was good in terms of stopping the run, but the pass defense was struggling there a bit. Receivers struggling to catch the ball. They do come back, but they can't pull it off there. So that's a tough loss for the Saints. It's one of those. I still view them as a good team, solid team, but it's one of those very inconsistent, solid teams. You can't figure them out. It's almost like every other, week for them, and they play a big game against the Titans. It's very winnable for them, I think. But, let's see if they can pull it off without Jameis Winston. But Trevor Siemian wasn't the problem. If you watch that game, then you realize that it was not the problem last week. So see if they can figure it out. The Bills are going to be down 5 spots. Bills extremely disappointing against the Jaguars, only scoring 6 points and losing to the 1-win Jacksonville Jaguars. So you take a hit from that, but then you really go a loss like that. One loss like that is bad, and it'll affect you in this rankings, but doesn't affect you that much. But a loss like that makes you go look at the resume, and then you realize that the Bills don't have a statement win. Chiefs maybe. They don't really have a statement win. They're kind of beating up on the bad teams, and then recently they haven't been playing that good on the field. At least when they were beating up the bad teams, what they show me on the field was great, which kept them high. But now you go and you lose the Jags. You struggle a little bit against the Dolphins last week. You lose 2 out of the last 3 games. It's not looking good for the Bills. And we can sit here and say, all right, when it's all said and done, the Bills are probably going to be better in this. I'm gonna agree with you, even though I'm starting to worry a little bit. I'm gonna agree with you that they're probably better than 11. But it's really not on my power ranking. They never work like that, They got to go out there and get some statement wins. They got to play better ball on the field. The offense looking sloppy. The play calling, the quarterback play, and the offensive line, all 3 looking pretty sloppy. The defense trying to carry them a lot there. So that's a tough one for the Bills, and they'll move down 5 spots, losing 2 out of the last 3 there. And they got 3 losses on the year. Chargers will go up 4, much needed win. They were on a little bit of a losing streak, but they played some bad matchups. And now they go and they beat the Eagles, who I felt like were getting better. But the Chargers, back to normal on offense. That's a good win for them. They'll go up 4 spots. They got some help. Teams like the Bills and the Saints having disappointing losses. If they would, if the Bills and the Saints would have lost like a tight game to tough teams, they wouldn't move down that far. But it's pretty tough there for those teams. So the Chargers move up 4 spots. The Steelers are at number 9. They're on a 4-game winning streak, and they're up 4 spots. They've squeezed it out, barely. They've squeezed out these wins here. Even the Broncos, they were beating them most of the game. The Broncos came back to the end of the game with the Broncos in the red zone, interception obviously. But these been some sweaty ones for the Steelers. And you could say they haven't played the best teams, and that's true. But at the end of the day, they are beating those teams, and they are on a 4-game winning streak. You see these good teams getting upset by those teams, and they're not going on streaks. They're going the opposite way. So it means something to me here. Obviously, I put them at 9. So 4-game winning streak. They're finding ways to win, and they'll play the Lions this week, number 32, so they can continue that winning streak there. But they're finding ways to win. They almost choked the game last night to the Bears. I know people are saying that they got a lot of help from the refs, and I can't really disagree with that. But they're finding ways to win, and they're on that winning streak. So they are number 9, and the season will unfold, and teams will be in the correct spot along the way here. The New England Patriots are at number 8. They're on a winning streak. They're playing really dominant football right now. They beat the Chargers in a statement win a week ago. 2 weeks ago, they put up 54 points. Well, that'd be 3 weeks ago now. And then last week, they dominate. This past week, the other day, they dominate the Panthers. The defense is looking like maybe the best in football, at least one of the best in football. Offense starting to get going a little more, perhaps. They could have done a little more against the Panthers, but they're on a winning streak. They're playing really good football. We see the major talk, like anybody can beat anybody. Teams are losing. Like there's not too many teams with good records. So the Patriots themselves don't have the greatest record, and they find themselves at 8. It just shows it's kind of a weird season when what's going on. But they're streaky and they're playing really good ball. That defense recently has been fantastic. So the Patriots getting some help to get to number 8. Some of these other teams that we expect to be better, losing, so that the Patriots get some help, but they're number 8. So that would see what the weird last 2 weeks have done here. 7, the Cowboys go down 5 spots. They've had a really good year. So one loss won't determine, our label on the Cowboys, but it was a bad loss against the Broncos, a team we expect them to handle, a team we expect to have a matchup advantage against us on top of being better. They're supposed to be better, and they just got dominated, The offense just couldn't do anything really. They couldn't convert the 3rd, 4th downs, and the defense, you'd think they would be able to shut down. They were able to shut down the Vikings. You'd think you'd be able to shut down the Broncos there. So that's a bad loss. That'll hurt you there. They're going to move down 5 spots, but you look at the body of the work still this year, and you see why they're still in the top 7. Bucks went up 1 spot. They got some help. The Cowboys getting a very bad loss there because the Bucks had a bye this past week, but they'll get some help there. So they move up 1 spot. 5, the Rams will go down 1. Losing to the Titans, home Sunday night. They do, unlike some of these other teams, they do lose to a pretty tough team, so it won't hurt them as much. They were pretty bad in that game. They got outplayed completely. Offense couldn't get things going. And there's been, to be honest, the last several weeks, there's been some complainers in the comments that the Rams weren't number 1, and why weren't they number 1? And why were the Cardinals and the Packers, the teams like that, ahead of them? And you got to split hairs when you're talking about these top teams, and I thought those teams had better statement wins. The Cardinals been dominant. They beat the Rams big time. The Packers beat the Cardinals. They got the statement wins, and that was kind of my reason. The Rams were kind of on a streak. They're playing really good football. They're winning. They're towards the top for a reason, but they've been kind of beaten up on the weaker teams. I need a statement win for them to be 1, and here's their chance to get it. And they get dominated in that game. So that's not the best look. Not really worried about them. They're going to continue to win. They're going to go back to winning, I should say. Still a very good team. We'll see Von Miller get back in the mix. But that's not a good one. Because their resume is not looking that great, like I said. So they did get some help too. With the Cowboys losing badly and the Bills and the Saints losing, who they lost to. So they did get some help. Teams like that, they don't get impacted as much, but they got to win those statement games there. 4 is going to be the Ravens up 5 spots. A good comeback win against the Vikings there. They go to overtime. They're a little sloppy early on. They got completely outplayed in the first half of this game, completely outplayed. So maybe they can fix that, but it's kind of a Vikings thing. The Vikings seem to completely outplay their opponents in the first half, so nothing to really worry about with the Ravens. But that's a dominant second half, a dominant comeback, and pull it off, a clutch win there, much needed win. So they're trying to keep up with the Titans there in the AFC. I mean, they're right there keeping up, I should say, and everybody else is kind of falling down. So the Ravens will go up 5 spots to number 4 after an impressive comeback win. Packers were number 1. They just got in that spot after beating the Cardinals. Aaron Rodgers out of the game, and they lose. Actually end up being a close one to the Chiefs. They're going to go down 2 spots. And I know a lot of people will probably say if they have Aaron Rodgers, they win that game. I'm in agreement. They win easily, but that's really not how power rankings work. A lot of teams are missing a lot of guys. If I give them a pass for, losing, the power rankings wouldn't change. I think there would be a mess. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, they lost. They don't get too affected by it, though. Down 2 spots, still a really good season. Still some statement wins, obviously. Beating the Cardinals a week ago still holds a lot of value. It's almost, to me, it was kind of confirming what the Packers show on the field, that they're a very good team still, because you see what the defense did, what that defense can do when they're fully healthy. So I still feel pretty good about what the Packers are doing on the field. I know they could have scored more points in that game, but at the end of the day, they lost. They're going to move down 2 spots, but overall, they're still holding on to a really good season here, while they're top 3. Titans are up 3 spots to number 2, so the team at the top of the AFC. That is a big-time statement win against the Rams on the road without your best player, Derrick Henry, and they dominate them. The Titans' defense has really transformed this year. It's very impressive. So they could get, they got offense going in crucial situations. Tannehill could play a little better, but they're looking good. They're looking like the toughest team to play in the AFC. It's really too bad they don't have Derrick. Again, a lot of teams are missing guys, but if they had Derrick Henry, it feels like this would be the team, and they are right now. They are the team, but I mean, by far and away, it would kind of feel like. But they are impressive right now, playing good football. They're up 3 spots to number 2, and back at number 1, the Cardinals been there a majority of the year. They lost a spot last week because the Packers beat them, and now they're back up 2 spots. Other teams losing help, but the Cardinals going to play the 49ers without their quarterback and their star receiver in dominating that game. It just shows how good of a team they are from top to bottom and how well coached they are, how good that system is. So that's a big statement win right there, even without your top players. So they're up 2 spots. They've obviously had a really good year. So that's, what they've, not just what they did with backups is the reason they're number 1. Look at the body of work, the resume here, statement wins, all of that together puts them at number 1 where they should be, in my opinion, on any type of power rankings right now. Yeah, so it's a weird week, just really shook things up here, and all these good teams losing, so it's interesting. We'll see if there's be another weird week. I think the last 2 weeks were weird, so see if week 10 will be another interesting one. Again, you look at the games, it looks like there's a lot of straightforward ones, but that's how the last couple weeks worked, and there's a lot of upsets. So we'll see if there'll be some weird outcomes again this week. We'll have you covered all of our picks and all the breakdowns of the games after they happen, and we're always talking on Twitter with what's going on throughout the games and what's going on with NFL news around the NFL. So check it out. Link down below. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Be much, much appreciated. But that is going to do it for Week 10 of Power Rankings. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But thanks for watching this video. Goodbye.